I thought for a long time about what to talk about in the videos that I make. I don't want to make just daily life vlog. I would avoid that. I would want to avoid that at least. So I wrote something and I have collected sort of different stanzas, different paras I wrote over a period of time, mostly last 2 months. And one question that I had at the end of last year in my mind was, is living important and do we owe it to ourselves? And I wanted to ask this not as a depressing question, because it sounds like one. I wanted to ask it as an earnest question to myself, right? And I do ask this question myself often, like, why is living important? And I'm sure same is the case with you if you've clicked on this video. Otherwise, thank you to my new subscribers as well. You guys are very sweet. Living is considered an act of immersing oneself in the act of life. Life doesn't have a medical definition. The opposite of living isn't actually death, in my honest opinion. So I'm not going to venture off topic by going into medical terminologies, because definitions can be constricting sometimes. My question implies the confrontation with the truth of continuation of life as one passes one day from another endlessly. Sure, it's shorter for humanity and the universe, but the comprehensive capabilities of our brains allow us to perceive it within our time spans only. So it makes it seem like it's a long life, even though it might not be over the course of the universe's life. One might argue one owes it to the gift of life to live and experience this planet, horrendous as it might seem lately. It's certainly one in a million experience. There's millions of sperms and thousands of eggs, and all those were potential lives, and yet yours was a zygote, which was capable of being a full-fledged human being. Call it fate or incidental, whichever you prefer. One goes through childhood, teenage, adulthood, finally adulting and old age, wherein you experience the emotional bandwidths of an average human being. You experience love, pain, anger, grief, suicidal ideation sometimes. Still, there is no crest and fall every few times in life, because, an average human experience. Everyone you don't know also goes through these things every day as well. The graph is a bit flat, though not entirely flat. There's no ebbs and flows every single day. Even the simple act of going to work every day or getting out of bed can make it a little less flat, though. So the question remains, do you want to experience the entirety of this lifespan, no matter how horrible it will get? And at the end of the day, if we rule out any kind of death, suicide, homicide or anything, and the only way any human being is going to die is a natural death, there's no crime, there is nothing, even if you might have suicidal ideation, you're not going to kill yourself. At the end of the day, if the choice is only to live, can you make it better? Or then the question is, well, this is all that there is. There is nothing more. So you're gonna have to literally squeeze out the joy or liveliness from every single second of your being. And for me, that is a weird experience, because I'm not exactly a typical introvert. I'm more extroverted. So that tendency to be joyful and playful does come out. But there's an undertone of seriousness in everything that I do. So I kind of struggle with that also at times. Like, I have to be very comfortable around somebody. Like, their personality has to match with mine for me to feel like I can be playful with them. So whatever years you and I have, the answer is that I don't know if living is important or not. We are not going to find the answer to that. The only thing is, you're going to have to squeeze the joy, the playfulness in this life on in all these years. Like, you're gonna have to spread it all over those years, because at times it's going to get very difficult. Life is going to throw you curveballs every single day, and you're gonna have to learn to manage. I don't know if I asked an important question. I don't think it was an important question to ask, I guess, but it was a very obvious answer also. I've not given like some great answer also, but these were my thoughts, and that's all. We have collectively undergone or suffered an intellectual demise. We don't even know how to breathe normally. I feel as if I'm suffocating under the weight of my own delusions, and sometimes it makes me feel powerless. I have this new cystic pimple on my cheek that makes me not want to look at my own face. But are we supposed to look at ourselves this much? Every reflective surface offers us a view of ourselves that we wouldn't have if there were no mirrors on this planet or reflective surfaces. We would force to see ourselves through other people's eyes. I'm feeling things, stuff, emotions in general after a long while. I've been numb in a toxic space for far too long for my own mental health, and now I'm recovering. I'm healing. I believe feminine energy heals the planet, heals us all. What an accomplishment sometimes it can feel like to breathe and exist, and to just make it out alive and live through this life. The video is also going to cover some other topics, like I said earlier. Okay. So I was thinking about envy, right? And anytime someone, there are few reasons whenever I feel envy. I feel envy whenever somebody's like very intellectual and very articulate. And I'm like, you see how I use the word very so many times. And I'm like, and they, of course, and a person that you admire always introduce new ideas, and you're watching them again and again because you admire them and you want to be like them, but your brain is not ready to fully accept that, and so it makes you feel like, oh, I don't like them, and you try to find inflections in their voice. You try to find, oh, this is irritating about you, or this is irritating about you, and I've done this, right? I'm taking all of this is from my personal experience. And so I was reading up, and one of the quotes that I come across, I don't know who wrote it, but it was like, envy as tea leaves for what we really want. I was like, oh, yeah, true, because it's projection, right? Because in the words of Carl Jung, there is something called as golden shadow also. First, we have the shadow, but we also have the golden shadow. And I thought I've worked on my shadow in general, but I did not know that there's something called as golden shadow. So I would be reading some nice things. So, when I was searching on, so I'm searching, I started this app called Sublime, and it lets you search, and it's not performative at all, which is another topic, by the way. I was introduced to this by one of my favorite YouTubers, Anna Howard, and when I came across this app and I started this NB Wala, I was like, okay, I want to talk about this. So I searched this, and what I came across was this particular article by an author whose name I've never heard of, but I've heard of Elizabeth Gilbert. He's from Eat, Pray, Love, and her article was titled "How I Tamed My Envy of Almost Everyone, but especially Elizabeth Gilbert." And I've pinned this article, so I wanted to talk about one particular thing in this. She said, if I had understood sooner why this occurs, why envy occurs, it would have saved me a lot of misery and wasted times. And so I will talk about however, what is less known about shadow is we can also project buried talents and positive qualities onto others. Jung called this the golden shadow, which contains the creative potential and greatness in ourselves that we are unable to see, except in other people. Perhaps because we were shamed for these qualities, or maybe because owning them would be too disruptive to our lives. Okay. A slight change in angle, because I'm going to read about this article that I found on Sublime. And here the author is saying what she learned eventually is that, of course, there's a shadow, right? When we're projecting onto others, when you think, oh, it turns into disdain or sometimes even worse, and it shows up in social media also as mean comments and especially disgusting comments on women's profile, very common, that. But however, what is lesser known is also that we can also project buried talents and positive qualities onto others. Jung called this the golden shadow, which contains the creative potential and greatness in ourselves that we are unable to see except in other people. Perhaps because we were shamed for those qualities, or maybe because owning them would be too disruptive to our lives. And I thought about how that has reflected in my life, and I was like, the times I have felt envious of even Nanak Singh, I would say, I sometimes I'm like, I don't think I could write that prolific a novel. It's like every bit of acclaim that he's gotten is fully deserved. He's written many books, by the way, more than 300 books, I think. And my envy usually comes from intellect, and that is, of course, being called stupid in my childhood. And even now I have this fear of being seen as stupid or afraid of making mistakes. I have not been able to overcome that. It takes a great effort from within me to be like, it's okay, you can make mistakes and it's okay. And of course that is linked to imposter syndrome and perfectionism also, which I don't think I really am, but I am. Denial is the first stage, right? And on Sublime only, I came across another quote, which is like, envy is inversely correlated with self examination. And so, if you've not been introspecting, if you've not been really evaluating yourself and even life that you're living every day, where you're going, who you're hanging out with, the conversations you're having, and part of the reason I've started recording myself talking is also like self examination, and try not to get an ick and get over the fear of being seen or perceived. I want to control how everybody looks at me, and I don't want that control to be very direct. I just want a vague control. I don't have an exact idea how will I control everybody who sees me, but I want that. I don't know how do you get it, but so inversely related with self-examination, envy is, they are saying, right? So it's a quote I found, just an email that has been given, somebody's linked their email, so it's in google.com. The less you know yourself, the more you look for others to get an idea of your worth. Then, but the more you delve into who you are, the less you seek from others, and the dissolution of envy begins. When we envy other people, we often focus on the aspects of their lives that we want, while conveniently ignoring the parts that we don't. But it might, okay, got it. I'm not talking about the performativeness on social media in this post, but this quote I think relates to envy and social media performance, both of them topics. The spectator buyer, one who's consuming content, is meant to envy herself as she will become if she buys that product, that lipstick, that whatever. She's meant to imagine herself transformed by the project into an object of envy for others. An envy which will then justify her loving herself. One could put this another way. The publicity image steals her love for herself as she is and offers it back to her, the same love, for the price of the product. There has been no name to this, there has been no claim to who has written this beautiful summary, but I would like to know if anybody knows. Okay. So there are other articles also, the antidote to envy and stuff as well. My goal is that I am able to coherently make a video and in which I'm not making grammatical mistakes, and I know I've made several already, and I am not worried about the mess. which I am already. And like I don't want to conflate my ego, but also want to express myself at the same time. I want to be authentic, but also want to control the experience you have of me.